Which one would you take? We got the RUNE V3.2 Banshee, and we got the 2023 Giant REIGN. 160 at the rear, 170 at the front, 160 at the rear, 170 at the front. So both very similar geos. This one's got a longer chainstay, 443 written. This one's got a 438 written, but measures closer to 443. So in person, the chainstays are quite similar. On paper, not so much. Head angles, this is probably 63 now because I've got the mullet, 29 a fork. Slackens it out a little bit more. This one's 63 and a half, I believe. Killer bikes. This is better. This is better for sure. I've come off the Slash to the RUNE. So Slash, I love. The Slash was killer, but it was too. It felt like it was high in the back all the time. I'd ride it. I had it set up to where it wasn't high in the back, but it still gave me that 29er feeling of it's just a little high in the back, and that wheel's going to be buzzing me. Kind of a cross country feel ish, but still just a hitter of a bike. Killer bike. Towards the end there, I was just longing for my new bike. I was waiting for the RUNE, and I stopped riding it. And just before I sold that Slash, I gave it a full overhaul, pulled all the bearings, everything that I could get to, pulled it all out, greased everything up, replaced what needed to be replaced. Mainly it was just a greasing, and it was singing. That Slash felt absolutely incredible when I sold it. It was killer. So I sold it with the Zeb on it, with the luft cap in it. So young Tommy who bought it definitely got a good bike, probably frothing on it, I assume. The RUNE came, obviously, and I've been riding it for a little while. Started off on this shock, ordered it as a frame only, and I built it up myself. Went back and forth, couldn't really find that ultimate compliance that I was looking for, that I was hoping for, and ended up on a coil shock, ended up on this sucker here, on a 343 spring, then a 320 spring, and then a 297 spring to find any compliance. High speed rebound all the way closed, and then tuning everything else to suit. Compression's quite open in order for it to get out of the way of the hits. Otherwise, any high speed compression, I think I was running 1 click of high speed or 2 clicks of high speed. Any more than that, and it just was not getting out of the way of bumps. Super rough. And then the low speed was like 2 clicks in as well. Any more than that, it was quite choppy and became harsh. And I kept going back and forth, like maybe I'm just too soft on the spring, and I'm way deeper than Banshee's recommended. They recommend 15 to 18 mil of sag. I was at 22, 23 mil of sag. 20 mil of sag feels garbage. 18 mil sag feels garbage. Everything shallower, it's just like that. Instead of riding like this, like and slapping turns and whatever, you're riding like this, like kind of tiptoeing through stuff a little bit, not confident. So I ended up 297 got me to where I wanted to be with confidence, and sitting into the travel, killer, no worries. But when I went on to the high speed stuff at Fox and the kind of rougher stuff, the break and bump stuff, I couldn't find a tune to make this bike feel really good. I'm not sure if it's partially the fork. I don't think it was that much to do with the fork at all, really, if I'm honest. I'm almost sure I just couldn't get that rear end to work. It's like it's really, really stiff and then drops off at the end. So my new approach now, this isn't a very progressive bike either. The REIGN's not a very progressive bike, but it's not super stiff at the start and then fall off at the end. It's kind of consistent all the way out. It doesn't ramp up at the end, really, I don't think. But it doesn't fall off either. It doesn't feel like it falls off. So with the no token, this new Float X as well, another side note, the new Float X inside the on the shaft, inside the air can, the bottom out, it's like a double squish bottom out bumper. It's a really good bottom out bumper, and it's quite long for the amount of stroke there. It's probably, it might be 15 to 20 mil long, and I think that does an excellent job of decelerating that force before you hit bottom out. So quite impressive that they've done that. A good innovation, I guess, for bottoming out. It had me thinking that maybe I need to go more on this one, more progression at the end and nothing at the start. I didn't want to go back to the standard can, because where the standard can equalizes is quite close to the, it's like 10% into the sag, maybe 8 or 9% into the sag, and I think that makes for a little bit of a not a great performer in itself. Having the equalization point deeper, like closer to 20% sag, which is what this Megneg does, regardless of all of the other additions like the larger negative and whatnot, just that different equalization changes the relationship between the positive and the negative, and I think it definitely makes it more supple and more feels more natural and feels better. Definitely feels better than the standard can. So I've got that full of bands. So initially I went, during the testing, at one stage I went full bands plus grease to try and bring it back down to the size of the standard can's negative chamber, and then use a little bit of tokenry to ramp up the end of the stroke. And it was quite good, but I didn't go, I only went a token, I think. I think that's as far as I went, because I was kind of scared to go more to make, because I didn't want to make the entire stroke any choppier. But I'm quite low on pressure, and I think that I've now got 2 tokens with 4 bands, so it's the smallest that negative chamber can get on the Megneg. Still 60% larger than your standard can. I throw in a lot of numbers, but I think that's going to help me take. So this suspension stroke's, like I was saying, it's really strong and then weak at the end, and that real strong makes you have to underspring in order to get rid of the chop in the sag. You know, in just when you're plowing across things and you're not really deep in the sag, you know, not really deep in the travel, it's just choppy everywhere. I think going the 2 tokens at the end of the stroke, but then keeping the negative small, is going to take that force off of the top. Low pressure, I'm only at about 115 psi, something like that, 120 psi I think. I'd have to double check it, but I'm not bottoming it out. It feels quite good. Maybe that's the solution to that setup. So over the next few days I'm going to test that again and see if I can make it feel a little bit better. Doing figure 8s and lefties and righties and bouncing around on the street feels pretty good at that setup. So 2 clicks from full fast on that rebound. So you know, it's still in a usable range of the adjustments. I'm at 3 or 4 clicks of low speed compression. This is a low compression tuned shot, so it doesn't have a lot of high speed compression, which is good. It's not kind of catching on everything. Yeah, that's the approach I'm going to go with that. Talking about this bike, Fox 38, I serviced the airspring straight away. It's fairly greasy, not terrible, but fairly greasy. It's such a big space. They just grease the whole thing. I'm not sure why. I don't know why, but they just grease the whole thing. So there's just grease on everything. So it's an accumulation of a lot of grease and a fair bit of oil. So once you clean all that out, it does make for a lot of excess in those chambers, especially in the negative chamber. So cleaned out, I'm at 104 psi now, 103 psi, 104 psi. Started at 100, and it was quite stiff and had to run it fairly open with the compressions. And it seems like it's broken in over a few, you know, an hour or 2 of riding. Now I've ramped up to 104, which is kind of where I'm usually at with these. After I've serviced a spring, I'm usually at about the 104, 105, 1 token. If I was to go 2 tokens, I'd bring it back to 100 or 98 or something like that, which would be quite good as well. Give you a little bit more supple off the top without losing that resistance into the travel. I prefer a little bit firmer and more consistent throughout. I feel like I can plow a little bit harder like that. That might change over time, but I think that's where I'm at for now. The Float X. So these new Float X's, you got numbers on the dials, numbers on the compression, numbers on the rebound, so way easier to know where you're at, which kind of came from that, I guess it kind of started with the Super Deluxe the through shaft Superlux with the numbers on the rebound dial. So I like that. That's a good innovation. That bottom out bumper is a good innovation. Do I go a coil on this shock? I went a coil on this shock. I tried this coil out, ended up with a fairly different tune than I had on that. So you've got high speed compression, low speed compression, high speed rebound, low speed rebound, and it's all finger dial. It's so good. I love how easy this is to tune on the track. Love it. But it bottoms out. Not bottoms out, it tops out. It still tops out. I've just had it rebuilt. It's fresh as a peach. That's just how these shocks are. So on the track, it doesn't bother me at all. Nah, it didn't bother me at all on the track. It's just, it doesn't feel super refined, and it's fairly heavy. This bike's fairly heavy as it is. That's what you see right there is 17.5 kilos. So that's pretty much stock as it comes out of the box. What have I done to make it heavier? Nothing. That's pretty much how it is. 17 and a bit, 17.5 nearly. Yeah, so the coil felt really, really good on this. I had to go the 320 spring with a turn and a half of preload, versus that is a 297 with minimal preload, absolute minimal preload. This has quite a tight preload collar, so it's never going to come loose, so you can have an absolute minimum preload and it'll stay where it is. Doesn't need any adjusters to hold it. Can be a little bit annoying if your shock's dirty to try and turn it, but no biggie. So that's quite good. Love the tunability. Potential for being a really, really good shock. When I sent it in for service, they said it was quite good. There was no real problems with it. Everything was fine. So it's obviously reliable as well. Putting this on that bike, it felt really, really good. But I don't know whether I couldn't repeat that good feeling. I rode it at Moriata, feeling killer on this, like plow, fast, controlled, really, really good, really lively and expressive. But when I went to, where did I go after that? I think I went to Waterfalls, and I couldn't replicate that feeling. So different tracks, require different setups, obviously. But I thought maybe, I don't like these springs for starters. These springs kind of do what I'm saying this does, like firm, and then it just dips off at the end. It doesn't have a consistent ramp, and that might all be in my head. It absolutely might all be in my head, because my logic says that a coil spring should progress consistently. It should be, let's say this is a 400 pound spring. 400 pounds for the first inch. 800 pounds to get it to the second inch of travel. 1,200 pounds to get it to the third inch of travel. Should be consistent. But I think this goes 400, 800, 1100 kind of thing, if that makes any sense to you. So not huge on that spring. So I wanted to get coil, but with a Fox spring, because I think the Fox, the new, not the old SLS with the 2.75 and the 3.0, like the Imperial measurement SLSs, they were a little soggy and very light for what they had printed on there. So I've got two SLS 325 springs currently. One's the old one, one's the new one. The new one feels quite a bit stiffer than the old one, quite a bit stiffer. They're probably 25 pounds stiffer, easily. So what I've done is I bought a Marzocchi Bomber, brand new Marzocchi Bomber, and I've got obviously the new 325. The old 325 feels way too soft on that. The new 325 feels pretty well bang on. A full turn of preload to get my height right, but once again with the Bomber, if I run it open, it keeps the high speed compression. And I know it's only got low speed compression. No. Whatever's going on inside, I've had this shock 3 times. This is my third time around the block with one of these shocks, and every time I've felt like, I need more low speed compression. But as I dial it on, that high speed is just rough as guts. Like what I would find on a shock like this, if I was to dial that on and have that feeling, I'd just reach for the high-speed compression, open it up, and it'd be perfect. I could keep my low-speed compression on, and then have the high-speed compression a little softer and a little more open to getting across bumps and getting out of the way of things a little bit. So this just feels like when I add enough compression, which is 3 or 4 clicks, for stability and that good feel of push against and whatnot, it's too stiff. It's just bang, bang, bang. It just does not get out of the way of the bumps. So I'm going to send this back to Cyclinic. I've literally done probably half an hour of riding on it, maybe an hour of riding on it. So they'll change the tune for me, put a light compression tune in there, leave the rebound as it is, and I'll go that 325 back on this and see if I can get it singing. It worked perfectly on the Slash. It worked perfectly on the Patrol. Killer. Just killer results by doing that both times. Went from, holding on and having to really grip with my feet, like a monkey paw grip with my feet when things got gnarly, to just point and shoot. So that'll be coming up quite soon on this. I'll probably send that away this week. So within the next 2 weeks, that'll be on with a lighter tune, 325 Fox SLS spring. And the weight difference, so that's 520 grams, I think, this Float X. And this is about 600 with an SLS 325, 600, maybe 650, something like that, 620. So it's about 100 grams heavier, so nothing. Very little on an already heavy bike. I don't want to go too much heavier. Yeah, I'm actually really, really loving this bike. I'm very relieved that I'm not chasing my tail anymore. I've really felt like with the Banshee I was chasing my tail, and maybe just, we're going to find out very, very soon if I was just chasing my tail with the wrong perspective on setup to get this to work correctly how I want it. Yeah, I don't know. I think I have maybe cracked the code on this Banshee. Maybe. Car park test and real life test are two different things, but it feels good. It corners killer. It's got that ride height that I want. It's perfect. It's at 35%, which is where this thing sings. Bring it up to 30, and it's just, you've got no weight. You got no weight on the front. Like, it's all too stiff at the back, so the back is carrying oil, and you're not getting any weight on the front. You in order for it to feel balanced, you'd have to go heaps more pressure in the fork, which is just rough as guts. So I don't know what to say. I think they're out the park. They're just completely out the park with their recommendation of 15 to 18 mil. I don't know if they've changed it or updated or reconsidered it or just whatever, but the Titan, which has almost the same suspension platform, it's all the KS2 link, but they all have their own characteristics on the graphs. So they're similar, but they're absolutely different. The Titan, that thing was easy. That thing was easy. I had a DHX2 with a 350 spring, and it was killer. It was easy to ride. I could maul through a lot of stuff. Fox Creek felt killer. Waterfalls felt killer. Horsenals felt killer. So it was just a good setup. But this one, not so much. A little bit different, and that little bit different on the wrong side of the fence. So we'll see over time how this goes. But this is my new baby. This is the new horse, and I'm loving it. I don't know whether I'm going to go mullet at the back. It doesn't have the same 29er feel as the Slash did. This feels more low slung. It feels more natural. It feels a little bit like a little bit of a better balance. The rear shock standard is better than that through shaft. The through shaft is, don't get me wrong, that Superlux is killer, but as soon as you get a couple of hours on it, it gets friction because of the through shaft. The through shaft design is garbage. They need to ditch that, just go to a standard shock and work with what the professionals have already designed and refined. But saying that, the Slash coil, don't even question it. Just set it up with a coil. I've got a video on how to change it to a coil. Set it up with a coil, and you'll be singing. This one may be the same. Maybe I'll end up mullet, coil, extra stroke at the back, all that stuff. I've had this reduced to 62.5, so if I end up putting this on that, which I won't, I'm almost sure this is going to work well with a coil. I might just have to adapt to a slightly higher ride height. I'm not sure. I don't know. I think I'm babbling a bit now anyway. I just wanted to get this out and let you know where I'm at and let you know what's going on with the Rune. If anyone wants to buy this thing, maybe I'll sell it. Maybe I'll get this sussed and then just sell it. Because at the moment I don't care. I'm not fussed either way. I can hold it, ride it, still have some fun on it. But when it comes to real rough, sandy, you know, really letting it go and tipping it in, this is the one. This is the one for sure. And the 38 is just, I love that fork. I really like that fork. I know, you know, it adds to weight and all that stuff, but it's a strong fork. And over the if it was 36, I'd absolutely prefer the Lyric. The 36 does a weird, like it like wonks when you land. If you're hucking off a gutter and landing flat, like into a turn, it does a little like you got a flat tire. But it's coming from the fork chassis somehow. I don't know whether it's a rebound tune thing. I don't think it is, because I've played with them a fair bit and just haven't quite found it. It's only the 29er. I didn't have that problem on the 27 with the on the Patrol. It was only the 29er 36 that does that. So, and especially in the grip, not the grip 2, the grip. I think it does it as well in the grip 2. I'm pretty sure it did. It did, yeah. On Joshy's bike I had that same problem. But the 38 doesn't have any of that. The 38 is sublime. So, new Zeb, highly likely to be sublime as well. I haven't spent enough time. I had a lap on it on the Norco site VLT when I was riding Purgatory. That was good. That felt quite good. But yeah, I'd need to bolt one on. Maybe I should bolt one on this. Brand new Zeb on this. Brand new 38 on that, and see if I can make these both sing again. I don't know, but that's money. I don't really want to start throwing money away for nothing. Yeah, we'll see. I've got so much stuff. Like, I've got a brand new 27 Lyric 170mm travel that I initially bought for this, and then put it on and almost instantly ended up on the 29er. So that's for sale as well. I haven't advertised it anywhere, but if you're looking for a pretty much brand new Lyric 29er with the C1 spring in it, I don't know, what would I pay for it? $1,500 for it. Give me $900 or something like that. Yeah, holler at me anyway. We'll move on. I'm about to go for a ride. I reckon I'm going to go to Horsenals on this thing. Do a couple of laps of the Pineapple Express.